Hi everyone, and welcome to tonight's webinar on the Level Up program. Tonight we're talking working online and going cloud. I do want to start with a couple of apologies. Some of you tried to join us last week for webinar 1 and we experienced, unfortunately, some technical issues. Quite a lot of irony in that because it was about getting online, and despite having 3 different options to be online and despite doing tests, I was unable to. So for those of you who did try and get on and want to access that content, it will be made available to you by Friday. We've arranged a re-record with NBN's Ryan Williams, and so the recording will be made available in the online resource portal, and everyone will also be emailed a link to make that super easy for you. I also understand there was a few of you who logged in for midday today, despite us advertising 7:30 tonight on all channels. Apparently on the system it said a different time. That's now been updated across the board, and tonight 7:30 is always 7:30 on Tuesdays as per all the communications. There is a recording though, so if you might be listening to this as a recording and got on at 12 expecting to hear it live, apologies, but hopefully we can redeem ourselves with a really great session, and I most certainly know I have a really great guest to introduce you to tonight. So I'm going to share my screen now, and I'm just going to hop over to, here we go, my webinar slides, and we will flip between those and doing some live demos with you tonight as well. So first up, could I just get a thumbs up that the sound's working okay for everyone and that you can see my screen okay? Could you just type a little yes or hello or something like that in the text area, which we very much want you to interact with tonight, because we will be answering questions at the end of the session. So if you've got a question during the session, popping it on the text area is a good idea. We're going to run the content for about 45 minutes and then we'll answer questions at the end. We find that format's best because sometimes we're about to cover that topic anyway, so you can see if we do or we don't, and if we don't, we can cover it off at the end. So hopefully that sounds all right. Someone said it sounds crackly. Yes, working well. For most people, it's good. I can see it from Spain, says Sue. That's wonderful as well. One thing to note is that if you are seeing it crackly, webinar 1 recording is going to be really valuable to you because you can run a speed test and see what your internet connection is like. We do feature on the webinar registration page what sort of speeds you ideally need to enjoy a good webinar session. And if you don't have that, it could actually be that you need to upgrade your internet. So webinar 1 content is going to be really helpful for that. Okay, without further ado, let's get into this content. So this is webinar 2, working online and or going cloud. I like to call it working online because it sounds a little friendlier. And whether you realize it or not, many of us are working online at the moment. We used to call it going cloud or cloud computing, and everyone went, where are these clouds? Well, clouds are kind of just putting it on a server that you can't see, so I guess that's why we call it a cloud. But the reality is this stuff is actually still sitting somewhere. It is sitting on a server somewhere in the world, and it's a different way of working. And whether you're just starting out with moving online, how you work, or whether you're already doing this and just looking for a couple of tidbits that might make working a little bit more efficient or a little bit more profitable, productive for you or your team, I'm hoping that tonight we can give that to you. So this webinar is part of the Sunshine Coast Council's Level Up program. That is a digital upskilling program, and it's aimed at helping small and medium businesses, which we know there are an awful lot on the Sunshine Coast. About 90% of our businesses here are small and medium, and we want them to connect to the NBN or faster internet, which we cover in webinar 1, and then not only that, actually start using the tools available to you if you're on faster internet, and ultimately the outcome is help you be more productive, do more with less time, and be more profitable, make more money, maybe even compete nationally and internationally and not just have a Sunshine Coast market, all because you've accessed these tools and you can now get some scale and do a whole lot more. So my name's Yvette Adams. Some of you I might have had the pleasure of meeting during the info sessions we ran around the Sunshine Coast through March and April, and even some online sessions. For those of you I haven't met that heard about this program through a friend or Facebook or radio and different things we've been doing, a super quick introduction. the accent you can hear is a Kiwi one, and you're about to hear Sonia's as well, and she's also a Kiwi. So I'm not calling in the Kiwi mafia. Sonia is Aussie-based and been here a while, and she'll explain her background. But she is one of the, industry leaders in Microsoft, and I wanted her to give a different perspective on things. So we had a nice balanced view of both the Google world and the Microsoft world, because lots of different businesses do this differently. It'll help you make decisions about what's best for your business. I first left school and went straight to work. So I work for government. So I do understand that area of work, and if you work in that area and making the migration to startup phase, which I know some of you, when we did the info session, said you were, I do understand that. I have started 6 businesses. I've sold 2. Right now I run 3. One of those businesses is called the Creative Collective. So our company successfully tendered for this program, and we are responsible for developing and delivering it. So we are a digital marketing agency. We moved to be fully cloud in 2009. So we don't just tell people, we practice what we preach and use this stuff every day for ourselves. We love telling clients about it and helping them make that digital transformation journey as well. And then I have the second company is the Training Collective, which is all about teaching people digital skills. So you can see there's a good complement there and a fit to run this program. The third business is a business awards portal called awardshub.com, where we help people find business awards and then do their applications too. I'm pretty active in the Sunshine Coast community. So I am the chair of Knowledge and Professional Services Task Force, which is a council task force aimed at bringing together the industry and feeding back to council what our issues are and things we might need moved along. So if I can help you with that, certainly get in touch. And I'm also proud to be the chair of the Australian Institute of Company Directors Sunshine Coast Committee. And I'm a mum of a 10 and a 13-year-old, and I've got a daughter here with me tonight. Some of you might have children at home and probably juggle dinners and things. But that's a little bit about me. So I would now love to introduce you to Sonia. How are you doing tonight, Sonia?
I'm good, thanks. I'm really good. Yvette, could you minimize our 2 speaker boxes and make our slides full screen?
That is a really good idea. Thanks for telling me that. You're seeing something different to when I flick to this screen, I can't always see what everyone else says. So that's a good idea. Let me see. Where is my minimizer? There it is. Okay. Now we should all be getting a much better view that everyone will appreciate. Cool. So Sonia, I'm not going to talk about you. I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, as you said, Kiwi accents tonight, and I've been here over 12 years now. So occasionally an Aussie word slips in, but more often than not, working with a Kiwi husband, it's still very much Kiwi in our household. So we moved here in 2004 looking for a change. So I started my IT career in a bank, moved into big government departments, police and defence. So I cut my teeth on really big, large, clunky, old systems and moving very large environments around and doing all that kind of system stuff before we looked for a lifestyle change to come over to Australia, start our own business and start a family ourselves as well. So I wear a lot of hats. My day job is running a business that provides IT support and advice to small businesses. And I also am a regular contributor in the community, both writing online, guest podcasts, speaking both at Microsoft events here and overseas as well. And I recently got an awarded in a Microsoft MVP award. Now, the MVP awards are a great honor because they are recognizing your contributions back to the community, be that the end user community or the technical community. And it is evaluated every year and only judged on events that you do for free. So none of the MVP activities that we pour our heart and souls into, we actually get paid the extra money for. So that was a great honor to be recognized by Microsoft for that kind of work.
Congratulations on that, Sonia. That's awesome. So I'm sure all the listeners can understand, like if we're talking Microsoft, no wonder you're my go-to person. I myself am a bit more of a Google girl, but we'll talk about that more as we go on. Let's talk about the topic some more. And you're our topic expert. I guess let's start from the start and talk about what is working online. So as I said sort of earlier, moving your business operations to the cloud or online can mean that you can increase yours and your team's productivity, profitability, scalability, And funnily enough, sometimes security. Sometimes people's main fear of not moving it online is, will it be secure? But I personally love it because I like being flexible. I like being a mum, being able to look at my phone and send a few emails, or check out a document that's on my G Drive because I need to pull it up for a meeting and I've only got a phone with me, not a laptop, and many other instances. What's working online for you, Sonia? How do you describe it?
Look, I love that security concern. Online security is one of those things that there are a few steps that you need to take to protect yourself, and we'll talk about a few of those later as well. But we have to, the investment that these companies have put into protecting their cloud infrastructure is just phenomenal. And when I think of the amount of small businesses that might have a server in their office and it's sitting underneath the receptionist's desk, for example, in the data centers that we're talking about with the likes of Microsoft, their physical security to get access to those computers is that intense. For example, you need to stand on a scale when you go into a room and come out of a room. So they actually weigh you to make sure that the weight going in and the weight coming out was the same. So you haven't taken anything in and left it there, or taken anything out you shouldn't. And that kind of security is hidden behind the scenes in the cloud. We don't get to see it, but it's certainly there.
Wow, so if you eat a heap of donuts on the meeting inside, you might not escape outside,
yeah,
right?
I don't think there's any food in those rooms. The data centers are very impressive.
That's funny. Crazy things you learn. Cool. So let's talk about what's driving the working online trend, because there's lots of things, and I'm not one for reading off the slides and reading all of these out. You guys can look at these in your own time. And by the way, all these slides will be made available after the session. Generally within the week, you'll get the recording, some resources, the slides that you can download and recover in your own time. But what's your thoughts, Sonia, on what's driving the trend that you're seeing at the moment? Because I feel like in 2012, the lights went on in Queensland because we had the floods. And like you said, some people had servers under reception desks in car parks. They lost a lot of data. So they started going, geez, maybe this cloud thing's not such a bad idea after all. That drove a lot of people to it. But here we are 5 years forward. What's going on now, would you say?
I think we just have an expectation as consumers that we'll get information and services when we need them at our convenience. And that means that businesses have to be a lot more responsive. And being a responsive business these days is not about being tied to a desk 9 to 5. It's about having the flexibility to work where you need to, when you need to. And there's a phrase we use that says, work is no longer a place you go, it's a thing you do. And people expect now in our modern society that they do have the flexibility to work wherever they need to, whenever they need to. And that's one of the things that the cloud certainly enables.
Yeah, I'm all about lifestyle for myself and my team. And I love the fact that, you know, if someone's sick at home, their child, they can work from home. And I think at the end of the day, you can work really, really hard. And some people say the working online thing means it's 24/7, you're never out of contact. But I think it's about putting up boundaries and making sure that you communicate and educate your clients or your customer base when you are available and when you're not. Would you agree with that? Yeah. But I think as well, if our goal for this program is to help you scale and maybe go global, you know, working online can help you do that, because even if you can't find the sort of talent you need locally, you can be hiring people online, working with them virtually, gaining efficiency because they're working overnight, maybe at a cheaper rate, so you're gaining profitability. I'm not saying outsource everything, but I'm saying there's a whole lot more options available to you as a business owner, aren't there?
Yeah, that's right. It's just so much easier these days to share information with the people who need it.
Yeah. So I myself have team. We have an office in Newcastle. We have team in Melbourne and all over. Do you work the same? Do you have a virtual team with your daily operations?
Yeah, we do. So we have some virtual staff overseas, and we also look after customers that have offices not only around Australia but in other countries as well.
What was your move as a business owner to do that? What drove that for you?
It was basically a combination of that scalability and wanting to keep a lifestyle. So the business that we started, we run from home, we have a family, and we wanted to be able to increase our capacity to service our customers, but not have to go and rent an office space and have staff that turned up Monday to Friday.
Yeah, and I've heard examples of even here on the Sunshine Coast. Let's take a real traditional business, like say a plumbing organization, where they've made cloud and going cloud or going online work for them by changing the way they do business. Previously, the team, the plumbers, would go out and do the work and have to bring back the paperwork to say what tools they'd used, what parts, and what invoicing and hours they'd spent, and then someone would manually have to program that all in, and then later on they would bill, and there might be a 30 or 60-day billing cycle. They've moved into iPads, and now they fill it in. They're on the job. No one has to re-enter it, and they can actually clock off earlier, which the plumbers love and the company loves because the billing's all done. They don't have to reprogram it, and their debtors got a whole lot faster. So that's a cool example as well. Have you got any other examples of companies that have gone online and seen the real difference in the way or their profitability or productivity?
Look, I think that's perfect. And those kind of trades absolutely exemplify what we're talking about here in terms of real life examples of digital transformation. There's a whole sort of ecosystem out there for apps to help make the process easier for services-based companies like tradies to communicate with their customers, record the parts and the hours they use, and get billed for it more easily while they're out and about.
Yeah, and through this program, we will introduce you to lots of different systems. We're not going to say this system is for you, for everyone, because there's different businesses at different stages with different budget, different size teams, and different aspirations. But we will introduce you to them, and you can go off and evaluate whether they're for you. You can come to our workshops and learn more and do some live exercises. You can download resources and work with your team and share them at meetings. And we've even got mentors for you, which we'll explain a bit more later. So back to this topic, benefits of working in the cloud. There's a whole lot on the screen there. Sonia, how do you explain what the benefits of working in the cloud or online are to people you talk to?
I think it's a lot of what we've spoken about already in terms of giving you the flexibility to work when you need to and the access to the right information.
Yeah. And there's a little point I probably will highlight in the bottom left. It says in some cases, no desktop software. So some businesses do operate with really nothing much on there. And just as an example, I don't own Microsoft Word or PowerPoint or any of that, and I haven't for some time. But some of the Office 365 stuff, if you do stay in that environment, you do still have something on your desktop, don't you?
Yeah, with Office 365, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, you actually have the choice now, which is really great.
Yeah, so you can go online or a bit of both,
absolutely.
Right? Cool. So when we explain this whole working online concept, probably the best way we can explain it to you is that it's like renting versus buying a house. You can rent software or just use free or low-cost subscription software, or you can go and buy it. So I guess historically we used to go out and buy Microsoft Office, didn't we? Install it on a machine, and we had it until we needed to upgrade. That's what we did, right, Sonia? So how would you explain, because Microsoft is probably what most companies are familiar with and how it worked, how that's changed over the years?
So the first dabble into Office 365 that most small businesses would have taken would have been Office 365 on a new computer or an Office 365 bought from somewhere like Officeworks, where they were still looking for things like Word and Excel, but they found that they now had an option to pay it on a monthly or an annual fee instead of paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars for the package. The main difference between these two buying options is that with the newer versions where you're paying that lower monthly or annual subscription fee, you're getting a version that's always updated. So as Microsoft bring out new features, new product updates, and major versions, you don't have to go out and buy the next major version of Office if you want to upgrade it to the latest features.
Curious to know, actually, it'd be cool if you guys could text chat in. Are you on Microsoft Office older versions? Are you on Microsoft 365? Or are you like me, predominantly using Google stuff at the moment? Love to know where you're at, and we'll reflect on those answers when we come to questions. It'll help us understand the audience and I guess where you're at now and where maybe we can take you as well. Okay, so moving forward, if you are thinking about taking your business online, sure, there's some stuff to think about, and you want to plan and you want to do it right and do it right the first time. So I think we should go into some of these a bit more and expand on them because they're pretty important. So how reliable is your internet is pretty important, and we cover that in webinar 1. So when that becomes available, please have a look at it. Make sure you've got good internet. Before you've got that, you really can't consider this stuff too much at all.
Look, I just want to stress that one a little bit too. We have a customer at the moment who's looking at what they do with their file storage and sharing in their organization, and they have very bad internet at both of their locations, and they would absolutely hate me if I put their files anywhere near the cloud right now. So we made a decision to hold off for a couple of months until they've got the NBN at those locations, because it just wouldn't be usable.
Yeah, we've got to be practical, and we're realistic here. We know there are some businesses. I was at one today. It's an accommodation place. It's in the hills. It doesn't have it, but it suits their business. People like to go there and log off. But what does that mean from a business operations perspective? Well, they do actually maybe have to go to a different location to do their office and book work from time to time to catch up. Now, budget's a big one. I think a lot of people fear that moving to the cloud or doing new things differently is going to cost them an arm and a leg. Would you say that's what you also have people say to you, Sonia?
Look, it's certainly a consideration, and I think it's a different type of perspective on your budget. Small businesses are used to spending money when they have it. They like to invest in technology when they are cash rich and profitable. And the cloud is a different way of thinking, because it turns those technology expenses into more of an operating expense than a capital expense. And so it is something that they need to plan for in terms of, will their budgets handle cloud software longer term? But in reality, when you stack up how much you're paying for subscription fees and those low monthly costs, you're getting rid of a whole bunch of other costs that you don't need to plan for in terms of replacing hardware and extra IT support, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so you've really got to do a cost versus benefit analysis. And what that involves is almost doing an audit on, what do I have now? What does it cost me? Not just in dollars, but in time. And some people are literally paying, like take the scenario of the plumber and all the different plumbers they had in the fleet. I think they had about 10 or 12 who were coming back to the office and giving those invoices and all those parts to be entered every day. That was a full-time job for an admin person. Now, we're not here to kill jobs, because, you know, these are livelihoods as well. But if that person doesn't have to enter those and can instead market the business to win more business or do something else that benefits the business, then suddenly things just got a whole lot more efficient, because they're not spending time on something that actually can be done by technology. Is that the way you explain it to your customers too, Sonia?
Absolutely. And one of the other things that I stress is, it's not about trying to do the same thing with different technology. A lot of companies go out and they put in cloud solutions, and then I find them using email and using other systems the same way that they always have in their business, except it's in the cloud instead of installed on their computer. So there really is an opportunity there to not only move to cloud software, but really take a look at the new features and capabilities it gives you, and really implement how that's going to give your business an edge with the new things you can do.
Yeah, and we're using words now like change and transformation, and it is that. It's not just a little IT thing you do to make life better. It is kind of changing the whole way you work, not just your workforce, and how you interact with customers and so on. So sometimes they say how do you eat an elephant? You start with one bite. It's the same thing, in that you've got to really work out, what are all the different systems I need to run my business? What am I using now? Where are the pain points? What are the ones costing me a lot of money or aren't efficient and I know it, or I get complaints from customers, and how can I make them better? So whether that's your marketing system or your financial system or your CRM, which means a client relationship management system, where you actually log every interaction you have with clients, be it a phone call, an email, a web form, or otherwise a walk-in, for instance, and work out, let's just start with taking that online and let's see if that makes life better. Is that an approach you have, Sonia, or how do you discuss with clients when they might want to make some transformation? Like, what's the biggest priority when it's all a bit overwhelming?
If you're looking at cloud as being an IT project, you're doing it wrong. We say to our customers, digital transformation isn't an IT project. It's a business project with IT components. So it really is about looking at how your business can operate in this new world, and those IT things that you do in the background to support that are just a small part of the puzzle.
Yeah. And another thing I find is sometimes people have been in business a while, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, some are actually even close to retirement, and telling them that we want to transform their business, they're a bit like, what? I'm about to retire. I don't want to know about it. But something that sometimes gets them thinking, well, maybe I've got to find the motivation and enthusiasm to do this, is this could add value to your business if and when you do want to sell. So whatever time or cost you might pay a consultant or implement a new system or even make a few mistakes before you get it right, might mean that you can sell your business for a whole lot more because you are so much more up to date than if you sold a paper-based business, which can be hard to value. Have you heard stories at all, Sonia, of businesses being valued more because they are more online and more digital?
Absolutely. And the other consideration we have to take in to account is the new employees that are coming into our workforces. So our newer employees are, they're the iPhone generation. They expect there to be an app for that. And they don't want to see that you've got some old horrible computer that's running Office 2003. They expect new technology, and here we go. Back in my day, we used to have better technology in the workplace than we did at home because it was very expensive and it needed skilled IT people to look after it. Now we flip that totally on its head, and we're finding that people have better technology in their homes than they do in their workplaces. The cloud has shifted the ball game to mean that small businesses now have more affordable access than ever to that really cool kinds of technology now. It's not just left for the big businesses anymore.
Yeah, that's very true. And, with less people in the workforce to hire from and an aging population, we've got to think about how to make ourselves attractive if we do want to hire good talent. So there's other things on here, but I feel like we probably should move on. You've got to consider what stage of business you're at and therefore what do you need, because if you're starting out, sometimes you need to try some different online tools and then get to the right one. You don't really want to invest in a whole lot up front in case it's not the right thing and your business evolves. What do you already have in place, and could new technologies plug into it, is a really important consideration. Security, if you're in the field of law or medical, or there's many other instances where security and privacy is an even higher consideration than other industries, then you have to consider, well, what systems are out there. And resources, do you have in-house support to pick the right thing, implement the right thing, provide the training, make sure it's all on track? You're going to have to get external consultants, short-term, long-term. Are you going to have to hire someone even? Or can you all do parts and all make this transformation together? They're also all considerations. Anything else to add to that before we move on, Sonia?
No, I think we could probably do a session just on that in itself.
Yeah, it's a pretty big slide, that one, and pretty important. But I guess inside an hour session, we just want to open some light bulbs in the mind and get you thinking, and you can always ask us questions on specifics at the end. So being safe online is also a massive topic, and we could just do one on this, but I want to make you all aware of a cool resource that the government has in case you didn't know it. staysmartonline.gov.au. There's a whole section to protect your business. So if you are in a risky area, or you just want to make sure when or if you do this move to more online, where are my risks? How can I protect against it? That's a really good resource. But Sonia, what are your main areas of risk or things you recommend to customers in this staying safe piece?
Okay, my two top tips for being safe online. The first one is something called two-factor authentication. If you don't know what it is, find out about it. It should definitely be on systems like financial systems you have in the cloud, banking systems, and I know that both GSuite and Office 365 also support it. Two-factor authentication is the way of getting another thing to input as well as your password. So that might be a code that rolls over on an app. It might be an SMS with a code in it, for example. It is the best possible way for you to protect your login account. If a hacker was to get access to your login details, it is very, very unlikely that they will have access to that second form of what we call authentication. So two-factor authentication is my top tip for any of those cloud systems. And my other one is be very picky about what you click on. We have seen so many examples, even recently, with scams where people pretend to be somebody you know. They send you a link to open a document or to log into a website, for example, and then all of a sudden you've actually given them access because you've clicked on the things. If you get an email with a link in it, even if it's from somebody you know, if you're not expecting it, pick up the phone and ask them. Just ring them and say, hey, did you send me a link to a document, or did you need me to sign into this website? If it's your bank, I know it's annoying, pick up the phone and call them, because if they're sending you links and emails to log into systems, you are far better to fire up your internet browser, type in your bank's address manually and log into your internet banking like you normally do, then you are clicking on links and emails. Links and emails should be banned.
I mean, it's very rare for your bank to email you, isn't it? Anyway, that's usually, should be a red flag immediately.
Absolutely.
Anyway. Yeah. There's lots of other scams. There's always new ones. Stay Smart Online, I believe, even has an alert service you can see here on the right, so you can sign up. And I don't tend to go myself by these silly things your friends post on Facebook and emails that people forward saying, watch out for this. Sometimes they're actually the scams themselves, and you're encouraging it and forwarding it, the virus, etc. So I would rather sign up to an authority service like this, and there are others. And when they say there's an issue, watch out for this, go by that, not by what your mate at the pub tells you or your friend posted on Facebook last night. Yeah, moving on. So here we go, Google girl versus Microsoft girl. Sonia likes Microsoft, I like Google. We don't care really what you use, but we are saying most businesses would probably use one of these suite of tools. Would you agree with that, Sonia? Are there any we're completely missing here?
Look, there are a few other alternatives, but I think in terms of reach of number of users and improvements in the product and support from the size of the companies, these two have got to be the leaders in the field.
Yeah, and so I've got a little thing in the bottom left saying, what cloud tech do you already have in place? What could you plug into? It's kind of like, what kind of car do you like to drive, isn't it? Like, it's not, this is a better system. It's just, what do you prefer? So I prefer Google because I like the search function on Google. I like logging into one ecosystem and having at my fingertips the GSuite, G Drive, Google Calendar, all that stuff. And I went to these guys in 2010 and started using this when Microsoft hadn't taken things online, because I was a bit of an early adopter. And because of that, I guess I became loyal to Google and stopped using Microsoft. But why have you stayed loyal to Microsoft, and what's your reason for choice of preferring to use that, Sonia?
That's an absolutely valid comment. Microsoft were very late to the game with the cloud stuff, and I think Google taught them a lesson in terms of where they needed to be looking at with their technology. They underwent a change in leadership at Microsoft, which has had a huge impact on the company. And if you haven't dealt with Microsoft for a few years, it is a very, very different company now to what it used to be. When we left the corporate world and started a business supporting small businesses, the majority of our businesses hadn't gone cloud yet, and we're still very much in a Microsoft on-premises world with their technology. And so the Microsoft move to the Microsoft cloud was just the next step in an evolution for them, because they were using systems where they might have heavily reliance on formulas and things in Excel spreadsheets, and the Microsoft system was what they were comfortable with. So I think that's why we ended up staying with it. We do actually have some customers with some Google products, so we have some coverage and support of those products too. But for the majority of our customers, we find that Microsoft is a better fit for them.
So it's probably worth also mentioning there are some customers who do both. So you can play in both camps too. You can have Microsoft 365 and use some of the Google tools some of the time or for certain functions. Would you think it would be fair to say that quite a lot of startups and I guess more budget conscious businesses use Google, and more sort of corporate and government clients use Microsoft? Do you think that would be a fair comment?
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot more uptake of Google in the small, like the sole traders, the online entrepreneurs, that kind of space, whereas the Microsoft businesses tend to be more from existing smaller businesses that are growing up.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's what car do you like to drive? Just
I love that you mentioned that, because we use the Holden versus Ford analogy all the time too.
Yeah, for sure. They're not better or worse. It's just what you like to drive. So moving on, I'm just going to do a couple of slides on Google, and I could easily do a whole presentation on this. So be aware this is a quite surface level one. And if you want to go into more detail, we'd love to see you at our next workshop on the 26th of May, details of which are on the website, which I'll explain in a moment. So I'll just quickly go through a few slides to give you a bit of an intro to G Drive, and then I'll hand it over to Sonia, and she'll give you a bit of a live demo of some Microsoft stuff as well. So we use the word ecosystem, which basically means not just a place you go and look at one thing, but you've got access to lots of things or things that work in together. So when it comes to Google, lots of people think it's just a search engine, but it's actually got a whole lot more things in that. And some people are aware of them, some aren't, some use them already, some don't. To start using anything Google to any level of degree, you really need a Google account. Now, one of these is free. You just go to google.com/account. I'll go to it now and show you. And it's just like signing up for an email address, so I don't need to spend very long doing it. I'm already logged in there, so I'd have to log out. I'm going to add an account. It should give me the option to, it's not giving me the option to sign up to another one. I'd have to sign out and use another account, sign in, more options, create account. So pretty much, as you can see, that's it there, that's the window. I fill in those details. I log into Google World and I kind of hang out in it all day. So I joke and say my Google account is my passport to Google World. Once inside Google World, pretty much everything is online. So if the internet drops out and isn't reliable, no, this isn't going to be the best thing for you to use. However, some companies then pull up their phone or their tablet and start using that via their phone plan. But there are offline versions, and I love that. So I use Google stuff when I go on the plane. I might be doing emails up till the moment I'm going on the plane and actually sending them. I then load up my Gmail offline, do a bunch of emails, and my outbox might have 20 emails by the time I hit Melbourne. The moment I connect to the internet, all those emails go out. So that's pretty cool. You can also get most of these same tools on an app for your phone or tablet. So like I said today, I had to go somewhere. I couldn't remember the details of where I needed to be. I pulled up the Google Calendar and I could see there the address, who I was meeting with, and some supporting documents. So that was pretty helpful as well. Now, you can use GSuite stuff for free, and you can also use the paid version. The paid version is going to set you back $5 per user per month. So if you have 3 people in your organization all using it, $15 a month, for instance. So that's quite good. The bigger you get, the more you pay. If you're just small, the costs are pretty low. Paying for GSuite basically means you can make sure that the emails going out are coming from your @URL domain. So mine would come from @TheCreativeCollective. And not only that, that when I do a calendar invite, the calendar I'm using also looks nice and professional. So that's one of the benefits of using GSuite paid. Another cool tool as part of the GSuite collection is Google Drive. So as it says there, you can keep everything and share anything. So I'm just going to pull up my G Drive. Here it is live here. And it's a bit like a, I don't know how to explain it, a file storage place. So I can keep personal files on here. As you can see, I've got Yvette's 40th when I was planning my birthday. I can have client files. I can go to new and create something new. And I can create a Google Doc, which is basically like Microsoft Word. That's a text-based kind of document. I've got Google Sheets, a lot like Excel. I've got Google Slides, a lot like PowerPoint. And there's even more. There's Google Forms, where I can create a survey or online poll. Google Drawings, I can literally sketch something up. My Maps, I can create a map where I log different locations for my stores or something like that. Google Sites, which we'll cover in future lessons. That's where you can have like a company intranet, your own mini website that you give different people access to different parts. Real-time board I don't use, but I believe it's like an online whiteboard. And Zip Extractor, which extracts files. And you can add even more there. So I can create new folders. I can create a new document. If I was to create a new document in its simplest form, you'll notice it kind of looks a lot like your Microsoft. I can bold stuff. I can center it. But probably the coolest feature, which is why we moved here first, is I can share this doc with someone. And once I've shared it, I can collaborate on them. So I can just put test run, give it a doc name, and I could share this with Sonia. So that is the one she said to share it with, and I could say a note, hi Sonia, let's work on this document. And that will go to her email. So literally we run team meetings and we'll be writing an agenda and everyone's contributing. Or similarly, we'll do a new spreadsheet and we'll report on our figures and different team members have to work on that. the best feature about all that is it saves on version control. No more sending it to someone, they updated it, you also updated it, oh God, which pages did you work on? I've already done that, someone else down the hall has too, oh dear. So that's a super quick run through of it, but it's got some pretty cool features. This next one is Google Calendar. People often say to me, how do you do what you do in a day? You run 3 companies, you have 2 children, you do these chair of the board things. And I say the answer is Google Calendar, no joke. I run everything off Calendar, so I'll switch it over to my calendar. So I have my calendar, which is the orange. I have a boardroom and we book that out. I can turn on the calendar of any of my team and go, is Justin free at the moment? Oh yes, he is free tomorrow. I'll go grab him for a meeting. I can create meetings and I can invite them. So that's pretty cool. I can add an attachment. Just today I had a confirmation that I've got a speaking gig, so I added the attachment with all the details about that. Now, if I had a doctor's appointment and I didn't want people to know that I was going to the doctor's for something very private, I can simply say I'm busy and this is private. So it'll say, Yvette is busy, you don't know what doing, I happen to be at the doctor's. So ultimate flexibility there. And I also, again, why I love Google stuff, I can search in here. I can go, when am I going to be in Brisbane next? And it will pull up any mention of Brisbane. So I can say to the clients, I'll be here on these days. And that's pretty cool. So it's got the mobile version, which I love and highly recommend. So there's a lot more features that you can go through in your leisure. It manages invites, so if people accept them, you can see it. I can share my calendar with people if I wanted to. I can sync it with Outlook if I wanted to use both, and bunches of other stuff. So again, like I say, these are on the slides. Now, one thing to note for using Google stuff is you kind of have to use the right browser. Now, the browser is what you use to look at the internet, and some of these might look familiar. I don't know which of these you click on to look at the internet, but if you're clicking on Internet Explorer, that's probably not going to work that well with some of the Google products. Google Chrome, which is this icon here, is going to work better with your Google products, and Firefox is also pretty good. Sonia, what's your preferred browser and what works well with Microsoft stuff?
I use 3 different browsers in my day because I have different windows open and different logins, and I have 3 screens as well. So I'm a bit all over the place. But my preferred browser is actually Google Chrome, and Google Chrome works really well for Office 365 stuff.
Yeah. So one thing I would say is if whatever you use, I want to push you outside of your comfort zone, and I encourage you to go download another browser. So this will be in your homework that we'll send out to you as well. So how do you do this? You just go to Google, google.com, still where most people search. You could go to Bing as well, I guess. Search, download, let's say I want to, there we go. I think I've already got this on my machine when it wants to load. And there it is there. I click on download it, and they're all free. So none of these will cost you any money. But one reason why you might want to do this is some of the tools we're going to introduce you to over the next few weeks, some will work well on certain browsers, some not on others. So probably Chrome and Firefox are the most popular ones. Are they the ones you tend to go to the most, Sonia, out of your 3?
No, my other 2 are internet ones and Microsoft ones. So I use Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, and Edge, which is Microsoft's new browser on Windows 10.
Oh, glad I asked that. You do it differently to me. I would go Chrome, Firefox, Safari, probably 3rd if I had to. I've got a couple more slides I'm going to whiz through because I want Sonia to have heaps of time. There's an ecosystem. So not only are there those tools, but you can go to Google Chrome extensions, so chrome.google.com/webstore, and you can then download other things that help you be more productive and more profitable online. So they're definitely worth checking out for your homework. Some of my favorites would be the Google Calendar one, the Gmail offline one, the Google Drive one. I think if you're already using Gmail, I love Boomerang because you can actually, I saw a question on this earlier, do an email and say, I want this to go at 9 a.m., not midnight, so they don't know you've been working at midnight, or because it's pertinent, it gets there on a certain deadline. So that's a good one. Buffer's a social media one where you can see a cool article and quickly from your browser add it to go out on your social channels later. This one is ProsperWorks. That's what we use for our CRM, which we'll talk about in later months. And Reportive, you can add to your Gmail and see on the right-hand side what social channels the person you're talking to on email has, and therefore connect to them on LinkedIn and things like that. So the homework is search for and where relevant. Also look at some Google Chrome extensions that might help your business. So go under the umbrella productivity or go under the umbrella finance and see what you can find that looks cool. Download it and have a play.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of Boomerang. Boomerang is supported by Office 365 as well, and that's great for being able to do things like snooze emails out of your inbox so that they pop up a couple of days later if someone hasn't replied to you yet.
That's a cool tip.
Yeah, I love Boomerang.
You need to remind some people lots of times. I'm probably one of those people that needs to be reminded. Okay, over to you, Sonia. Microsoft ecosystem. Help us understand how it all works.
Okay. Office 365, as you said, and this ecosystem word that comes up again basically means a collection of things under the one banner. And for us, that also means the one login, which makes things really easy. Office 365 is about more than just a monthly updated version of Word and Excel and the Office products you're used to. And all of those little icons will appear in different forms depending on the plans that you're on. As we said before, Office 365 comes in a couple of different flavors. You can have a business subscription that gives you access to online services only. So that's your mail and calendar in the cloud and online versions of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint with nothing installed anywhere. Or you can get a version of Office 365 that still supports those installed applications that you may want on your PC, but doesn't give you online versions of Word or some of the other productivity features. Or you can mix and match both. So the Business Premium plan, for example, which is about $12.50 per person per month, lets you not only use the online services, but you can install Office software on up to 5 PCs or Macs, and then 5 phones or tablets for the same person. So these days, you know, you probably have a phone, maybe an iPad, a laptop, maybe a desktop in the office. So under your license, you're covered for all of those devices to install the things you want to install, whether they're installed software on a PC or they are iOS or Android apps, for example. And you can also add individual services. So if you have somebody in your office that literally just needs to use mail and calendar, you can add them in to your Office 365 environment and not have to pay for them to have all the other stuff if they only need access to mail and calendar.
So, Sonia, we had planned to do sort of live demos of bunches of stuff, but I'm just time. We'll probably have to cut it short. But if there was one live demo, do you want to tell me what it is, and we'll just make sure we pause on that, or you want to?
Yeah, we might just do the next one actually. So if I'll talk about mail and calendar and how Outlook looks, and we'll take a bit of look at that on screen, I think.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Because I have a couple of tips and tricks if you're already using that. So the way that Microsoft views mail and calendar is it's all part of the one mailbox, and online it's called Outlook. It's different from Outlook that you install on your PC. It works slightly differently in the browser, but the majority of the functionality is there. And so it puts mail and calendar into what we call the same mailbox. I'm just going to bring that up on my screen and share it so you can take a look and see. Okay, if you want to minimize your screen, Yvette. Beautiful. Okay. So this is Office Outlook that's actually installed on my PC. I can work offline if I need to. I've got a few emails in there. And there's a couple of little tricks that I want to show you. This here, for example, I'm viewing it by conversation, which means there were actually a couple of other emails that were sent here. And Outlook has realized that they're part of the same chain. Now, I've decided that this particular thing is being handled by the team, and I really don't need to get involved in it at all. It doesn't concern me. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to go ignore. I can actually ignore that message. And what it's going to do is it's going to move this message to my deleted items folder, and any replies that come in to this are also going to go straight into my deleted items folder, and I'm not going to see them. If I suddenly remember that I am being brought back on that project and I do need to know what's going on, I can go back into my deleted items and I can stop ignoring a conversation to get those back. But it's really handy if, say, someone's arranging leaving drinks next Friday night and you can't go because you've got other plans, all right? You don't want 50 emails going backwards and forwards in your inbox about where we're going and what time we're meeting if you can't even attend. So ignore conversation is a very handy hidden little trick in there. Another one that's great in terms of the calendar integration we talked about, if I've got an email that's talking about connecting up with somebody, I can actually drag that straight onto my calendar icon and it'll pop up a calendar appointment, and it'll already fill it in with all of the details from the email, and it'll add any attachments if there are attachments too. So I can tweak the settings in here and save that straight into my calendar. If we haven't actually decided when we're going to meet, what I can do is a hidden little icon up here, which does a reply with meeting. And if I hit reply, it turns this email into a meeting invitation. So I can say, come in here and grab this, copy and paste the location. I don't really think I want to meet at 8:30 for coffee, so let's make that on Friday at 1:30 p.m, for example, and send. So that actually sends it as a meeting invitation for the person to reply to. When we're also talking about integration with online file storage, if I do a new email and I want to attach a file, by clicking on the attach file icon, I can actually browse web locations, and this little icon here is my OneDrive for Business. So that's Microsoft's version of Google Drive, where I've got my files stored in the cloud. On this computer, they are also synced locally, so I can work on them offline, online, wherever I like, but I can actually go and attach them straight from the cloud. My internet's going to be a little bit slow because I'm screen sharing and doing all the things as well. Okay, so this one here, my OneDrive is where my files are. If I click on the advertising budget and insert that, it's actually inserting it, but it's a link to the cloud. So the person who's getting this, if they've got access, they'll actually click on this link and they'll go into the straight online version and they'll be editing and updating it and saving it. So when I go into OneDrive, I'll be able to see their updates in that straight away. Now, if they don't have access to this, or I don't want to give them the hassle of the cloud stuff, I can click on here and go attach as a copy, and that will actually attach it as a standard document attachment that we're used to as a separate copy of the file. So that's just a little bit of the file and the OneDrive integration.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, some cool little tips in there. Oops. And if you can bring the slides back up, thanks, Yvette.
No worries. I will work out how to do that. Okay, I believe that is my screen, and back to the slides. Can you see that?
Yes, I can. Okay. And so you mentioned Chrome extensions for Google stuff. In Outlook and in Office 365, there is also a store. So Microsoft has a store where they publish extra add-ons that people put in that add into their product. Find Time is a Microsoft exclusive, and that lets you create a poll with other recipients to agree on a meeting time. So you know what it's like when you've got maybe 3 people or more, you all need to meet at the same time. You do this table tennis back and forth of, can I meet? No, I can't meet then. No, they can't meet then. So Find Time lets you create a meeting poll where you pick a few times when you're available, and that gets sent out to the participants, and they get to vote on, yes, I can make this time. No, I can't make that time. Actually, this one's my preferred time. And when it has everybody in agreement, it publishes the results and sends out the calendar invitations. So Find Time's really useful. Boomerang, we talked about, that's supported in Office 365. Microsoft bought Wunderlist and are doing great work in that space that I can't tell you about yet because it's not been made public. But right now they do have an integration between Outlook and Wunderlist for your Wunderlist tasks. They've got some PayPal integration with Evernote if you use that. Microsoft also has their own product called OneNote, but they have Evernote integration if that's your thing. And also a cool little one for displaying your tasks, like a Kanban board. So if anybody's done anything with productivity and moving tasks through stages, Kanban boards are kind of the cool new thing in terms of productivity, and there's a nice little add-in for that too.
Very cool. Kanban, they also call it. It's what the Toyota
Yes.
factory started, I believe, is where it originated.
Absolutely, yeah.
Of agile stuff. So,
Yep.
OneDrive, how does that vary
Yes.
from GDrive?
Okay, so OneDrive is your file storage in the cloud, as I mentioned. The two versions are OneDrive and OneDrive for Business. So OneDrive is the free version. For free, you will get about 5 gigabytes of storage. Microsoft got some bad press over dropping the limit because it used to be a lot more than that. Rightly deserved bad press. But what we're seeing is OneDrive for Business is the one that comes with your Office 365 subscription. It has a lot more controls in the back end. As you said there, advanced versioning. It's got content approval in it, so if you need to put information through an approval cycle, and some tasks and things in there as well. So OneDrive for Business just has a lot more of the business controls. There is a great little thing called data loss prevention that lets you even enforce rules, for example, like not storing credit cards in Word documents. So if it saw a credit card number that had been typed in, it would actually give you a warning in Word and saying that this isn't allowed as per your organisational policies. So there are some very good sort of compliance and control stuff built into OneDrive for Business.
Well, that would be why, a lot of corporate and government clients probably like it quite a lot, to make sure that they've got that high level of security.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and just briefly, as I said on one of the slides where we looked about all the icons, and we've only just scratched the surface with a couple of the products under the Office 365 suite. A few that you might not know about yet: Bookings was released for the Business Premium plan, which is an online booking system. So businesses that are services-based businesses, for example, or if you're a freelancer and you're doing some consulting, Bookings is a service that is included as part of your Office 365 subscription, where your customers can go to a website, see your branding, see your services packages, how much they cost and how long they're for, and then choose an available time that you've set that you're free to actually book an appointment with you. So that's Bookings. The one just below it is Microsoft Flow. So automation is another huge topic, and if anybody has used systems like Zapier or If This Then That, which are used for connecting two systems that don't usually connect together. Microsoft Flow is Microsoft version of that. They are only just getting started in the space. They support a lot more Microsoft products than they do third-party products off the rank, obviously, because that was where the drive and the need was first under their product space. But I had a bit of a play with it today, and I actually managed to create a flow that would monitor my company Facebook page for some particular negative words if somebody was leaving bad stuff on my Facebook page. And then it would send an email to the customer service team with a link to that posting and asking them to chase it up for that customer. Microsoft Flow is a free product. You can actually sign up for it at flow.microsoft.com without needing an Office 365 subscription. But again, it's there in the app launcher. We talked about that ecosystem. When you log into Office 365, there are a whole bunch of tiles that are all there connected under the one portal for you. Microsoft Teams is the other one. So that's on the right-hand side. That's my lovely purple window. It is very, very new. It is being billed as the Slack competitor, and it is a fantastic space for communicating with your team, enforcing company culture when you've got people in different offices. It supports bots and GIFs and a whole bunch of stuff for keeping conversations rolling and keeping people connected too. So that's Microsoft Teams.
Cool, lots of new stuff. I had no idea they were releasing all that because I just hang out in Google World. So,
But look, I have a hard time keeping up with it. It's a fun job.
Hopefully, this is valuable to you guys. You don't have to go looking at all the latest, releases, and you've got it from someone who is giving you the spin on it. So again, on the slide 28, we're not going to have time for a live demo with Dropbox, but I'd say out of everything on that screen, probably Dropbox is the most, popular. So you have got OneDrive if you're in the Microsoft environment. You have got GDrive if you're in the Google environment. But Dropbox is also another solution that doesn't really matter which environment you play in. I guess it's the Switzerland of the file storage place. It's neutral. No.
Yeah, and Dropbox recently released Office Online support as well, so that you can like view and edit Word documents in Dropbox too. So they're all playing nicely together lately.
They are. Dropbox has a presence in Australia now, and they are making more and more work solutions. There were a few sort of buggy things that used to annoy us, but you can essentially get Dropbox for free. Get someone to invite you to it, and then if you invite a whole lot of other people to it, they give you more storage. When you start paying, it can get a little expensive. I know our team's on a plan that's about, I think, $100 a user, perhaps a year. So we've got about 10 users. It's about $1,000 a year. So we are starting to use more G Drive because we get more storage there. Box.net is, I guess, the poor cousin of Dropbox, but still quite popular. iDrive's been around for a long time. Mozzie. You guys might even like to drop in others that you use or know of, but the industry standards are probably Dropbox. Any other comments to add to that, please, Sonia?
I think you've covered it.
Cool. Moving on. Backups are important. If you're going to work online, maybe even this is the first place you start. Let's just start with going online as a business by backing it up and making sure that should something go wrong, we're kind of covered. So what you back up really varies business to business. And again, you might prioritize this and go, well, out of everything, we would be shot if we lost our, let's say, account system, because at the moment it's all on MyOb and it's all on a hard drive. Therefore, work out a way to back that up. A lot of people don't think about backing up their phone, yet they take a lot of photos for work on it, or even just their treasured family photos. Think about backing that up. Your docs, your pics, your videos, things that end up on your computer just over the course of using it, are you backing them up? How would it affect you? Some people say to me, well, how often should I back up? And I say, well, how much are you prepared to lose? If you could go a week and lose it all and it wouldn't affect business too much, then back up every week. If a day goes by, you do a lot of work. If you lost any of it, you would die. Then probably you should be backing up every single day. There's other solutions on there, some of which you've suggested, Sonia. How do you explain the importance of backing up and how to go about it to customers?
Look, the biggest issue I see with customers is thinking that cloud is their backup. And we've seen with the ransomware that's going around that encrypts all your files, that if you are syncing things locally to a computer and they get infected, those infections are just going to sync straight back up to the cloud because the cloud just sees them as changes. Now, depending on what cloud service you're using and how much you're paying for it is going to determine how easy it is to roll those files back to before they got encrypted and got that virus all over them. So it is really important to know what your backup plan is if you need to restore files or roll them back, whether or not they're in Google Drive or OneDrive or Dropbox. That's really important. And I know some other people like to look at options to see, is there a way of backing up my cloud stuff in a completely different system altogether? So if I've got my finances in the cloud, or if I'm putting documents in the cloud, can I put them somewhere else as well, completely outside of that system, just so that I know I've got a copy of my data should anything happen to the company or that system? And there are third-party providers out there that do even support backing up things like your Office 365 or your GSuite data into another system.
So I guess all these solutions, we're giving you the know-how, but in a really quick way. So if you think this is enough to go on and you could do it yourself, go for it. But if you think this is pretty important, there's a lot of stuff I'm not even sure where it is or how we go about it. In some cases, you guys might be better to pay an external consultant to really do a thorough job on this and get it right. That's totally up to you. As Sonia was just alluding to, though, it can even happen to the big guys. It doesn't happen often, and they're very careful, and I dare say better than most because their whole livelihood depends on it. But, you know, back in 2011, some Gmail users lost their accounts, and they have a lot of users. There were outages of Amazon. Some people back up their stuff to Amazon servers. A lot of people don't realize a lot of the technology and software companies use Amazon servers. So when they're affected, it affects other companies. In this example, Reddit, Hootsuite, Foursquare. Now, some of these examples are a fair while ago, but doesn't mean they won't happen again, and that there actually hasn't been others. If I really went looking, I'm sure I could find headlines of outages all over. Apparently, even Facebook went down today. Did you hear that, Sonia?
I was actually too busy to be on Facebook today, so no, I didn't hear that was down.
One of our team put out something funny about it being out for 30 minutes and them all just about having withdrawals. So they all, for business purposes, I like to think, but it did happen today, apparently.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I'm conscious of the time, so zooming through these last few slides, there is a whole lot more stuff you can have in the cloud. We're going to cover this in future workshops and webinars. So if you're sitting there going, oh, but I really wanted to know about online accounting tonight or CRM or something else, don't worry, there's a high chance we'll be covering this. Tonight is really about opening your eyes to the basics like backups and systems that you might go on, and helping you get some ideas about considerations before you start getting down into the nitty gritty. So we have got some downsides here you can read at your convenience, but you know, what's already been used, is it offshore? If it is being backed up into a Dropbox or something else and they're owned by an American company, in a lot of cases you're subject to the jurisdictions. You want to basically look at the fine print and work out how that affects your business, and also keep up to date with the changing face of legislation. This is still new, relatively new territory. There's one landmark case, and it means that everything changes about where you can store it and how you can store it and what you can store. So it is hard to keep up with, but doing this sort of training like you're doing is a good idea. Privacy commissioners release stuff, and there can be other trainings available. How do you explain the risks to people and where to look to check out what sorts of things to be aware of from a legal perspective, Sonia? Have I lost you, Sonia? Oh,
sorry, I'll unmute my mic. Look, Microsoft has something called the Microsoft Trust Center. If you do a search for that, you'll find it where they explain a lot of things in plain English about security and compliance. I know it's really hard because for a lot of cloud providers, it's buried under those terms and conditions, and we all read those, right? But it really is a case of doing your investigation and you do due diligence first, especially if you are in a very heavily regulated and compliance type environment. Just, it's worth getting it done properly. We use an accountant for our finances. They are the professionals. They know the tax laws, and it's not the kind of thing that I do myself because the risk is too great. And if you're putting your information in the cloud and near the internet, you've really got to take the same approach.
Absolutely, get professional help. This last piece, I'm going to leave you for your homework. So the government, Queensland government, has actually put out a new resource. And if you're kind of like, well, I don't know what my priority is, I think we're pretty good, or are we not? There's actually a new digital scorecard, and it'll help you think about how online or digital ready is your business right now. So I'm going to send you this link so you can do that. It only takes a few minutes. I've done it myself, and it's a digital scorecard. So you enter your details in, it gives you a score. I did really well. You may or may not get that score. I'm quite competitive. I'd love to know how I get the other 2%. And then you can view it in a visual sense as well. Have you had to play with the scorecard technology at all, Tanya?
No, I haven't seen it before. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's brand new. So yeah, have a look at it. And I'm encouraging all of us to do it just as a bit of a benchmark as part of going on this journey on the program, and hopefully at the end of the program we can redo this and see that we've all made some improvement, which will make us all feel good. So I promised I'd let you have the chance to ask questions. I think we'll answer these in the text format. I'm going to go back through the questions we've had to date, and feel free to ping yours now that you know what we've covered. And at the very end, I will give you a few other, I guess, little housekeeping and headlines about the program and how to get engaged in more if you're finding it useful. I might just turn off my screen share because you guys probably don't need to see everything that is on here. How do I stop that? I'm not able to. Okay, so when I ask you what you're using, I had Office 365, Google 365, 365, 365, an old Office package, 2007 and Google on desktop and Office 365 on laptop, older version of Microsoft, Office 365 and Google left Microsoft ages ago, Microsoft Office 2013. So we've got a big mixture in there. So just as we thought, Andrew backed up that banks never send email links, as we said as well. Helen said, is there a tutorial for Google Sheets? Yes, Helen, there is resources in the online resource portal with links to these, and if they're not there, they will be up within the week. Usually whatever webinar content we deliver, resources, slides, recording, are all made available during the week for that week, so you can focus on them and work on them. So some really good help files. Heather asked, do I use the paid version of Boomerang? I said, I don't use the paid version. What about you, Sonia?
No, the Office 365 version is free. Actually, it's not paid for at all.
Cool. Yeah, it does most stuff I seem to need it to do. Rachel had a question, might share it because it might benefit others. She said, I use G Suite for my emails. It doesn't sync with Outlook for the calendar. But Sonia, you answered that saying Google Calendar can be added in as read only. There's a feature request in to make it two-way, but it's complicated. Anything else to add to that, Sonia?
Look, you know, I do have some customers that have fun between Outlook and Google, and it tends to work better that if you're going to use mail and calendar, it really does pay to stick to the one system. So whether that's Google or it's Office 365, they do lose features if you try and cross the streams with those two particular products. So I think you're just best to use the, you know, the one that's the platform that you're using.
Yeah. Charles gave a good tip, and I love that when our participants give tips, we love to share those, and I sometimes learn too. He said, look at Google Apps Unlimited for unlimited space. So unlimited's always good. That's, you know, you can never have enough. You don't have to worry about adding to and adding more money. So
yeah, and some of the Office 365 plans offer unlimited storage for OneDrive for Business as well.
Cool. And, you know, businesses kind of probably want that, right? They don't want to be stopping every now and then going, oh, we've run out of storage. Please can someone arrange to get us more? You just make it.
Absolutely.
Christine Fife said, MyOb is online now as well. It is indeed, Christine. And in our session about online accounting, we'll be explaining that, and Xero and other online systems to do with accounting, where we'll have an online accounting expert online, like Sonia's an expert at this Microsoft stuff, so you can tap into their brain too. Heather's added Carbonite have moved their storage location, so back up to Australia. Now takes a month. Support is awesome, but computer restore takes a month with no options to send a file in the mail. I'm not using Carbonite, not that familiar with it, but it must be another file storage system. Okay, Shane said, where do you find the Microsoft apps such as Boomerang? Do you want to do a live demo of that at all, Sonia?
The easiest place to find them is there's two places you can find them. Inside Outlook itself, if you have it installed, there's a store icon that actually sits at the top on your bar with all your other icons. It's a nice little red briefcase store icon. If you're logged into Office 365 on your launcher, on your app launcher, it's actually, there's a store icon tile as well.
Cool, that sounds pretty straightforward. I'm tempted to close this video because I'm conscious that this is the best view right now, but I'm scared if I do that, I might actually close out the whole session. So I'm going to play it safe and not do that. Helen has asked, how do you back up G Suite? Well, as we pointed out, it is essentially online, and that is essentially your backup. There were two solutions we did mention. I'll just go back to those for your eyes. The one, Skykick and StorageCraft. I wasn't actually aware of those, but Sonia, you were saying they work for Google and for Microsoft. Is that right?
Yeah, Skykick doesn't. Skykick only supports Office 365 at the moment, and StorageCraft are bringing G Suite online. So StorageCraft is an amazing company internationally and here in Australia, fantastic local support. We use StorageCraft backup software for anybody that has a server at their place or a critical computer that they need to protect. But StorageCraft also have a cloud backup offering that is new to the market. So they back up Office 365 right now. G Suite is coming because it's there as an icon. It hasn't quite lit up yet, so I don't have an ETA for it, but StorageCraft Cloud Backup will allow you to back up your emails, your calendars, and the stuff in your G Drive.
Cool, so hopefully that answers your question, Helen. Not seeing any more questions coming through, so hopefully we've given you guys a really good comprehensive session. In the interest of time, I might close it out. But I would like to thank everyone for getting online, and a special thanks to Sonia for giving her time up. We can all see, I think, from her knowledge of why she is recognised with awards and things with Microsoft. And you're so up to date. I love the fact you're saying that's completely new, and that's all been really valuable stuff. So thank you, Sonia.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you so much for the invitation.
No worries. So feel free to stay online. I'm just going to give these guys a real quick rundown of the Level Up program. So some of you may have just joined this webinar, seen it advertised, heard it was free. Great. We're really glad you got on. If you want to get the most out of this program, we kind of need to surround you with lots of support and resources, because there is a fair bit to this, as we said. It's not just about a couple of tweaks and some IT. It's sort of, you know, operational change. So if you are to do the whole program, you'll get access to all these levels. We've called it the Level Up program because business is kind of like a game, and we want to take you through the levels. It starts off easy, it gets harder. Right now we're at level 2, but you can go back and look at level 1 when we make it available. So we're going to go through all these lessons. Now, you could continue to jump on these webinars for free each week, and that's all you do, if that's all you have time for, and we'll gladly take you. But if you wanted to get a little more out of the program, you could actually sign up for the full program, get access to all the workshops, all the webinars and mentors and support, and all of that is only $295. Not only that, that doesn't cover one person, it covers up to 4 from your organization. So it's less than $100 per participant if you look at it that way. Now soon we will be charging $25 for access to the recordings if you can't make them. If you are a program participant, you get access to the recordings anyway. That's all inclusive. But you can jump on the live sessions for free if you prefer, or if there's just one workshop that grabs your attention, you prefer learning in person, they're 3.5 hours, you can come along to one of those as well. We tend to cover 3 to 4 topics per session, so they're kind of like taking the webinar content and running them concurrently, but sometimes there's different trainers. We might make it more interactive, so they're slightly different than a webinar format as well. If you do join the program, these are all the things you get. We're creating workbooks at the moment. We'll be loading them up into the portal, resources, as I said, regular emails to prompt you to continue learning. It's super important if you haven't received emails from us today and you are in the program that you let us know so we can check your email and that you are receiving them. We have had a couple of people let us know I haven't received anything, but it's turned out we had the wrong email on file for them. If you do the program, you also get access to a private Facebook group. If you are on the program, I'd encourage you to look on the online portal and join that. We'd love to have you on there. But super valuable is the mentors. So you only get this if you do the full program, not if you come to a workshop or just do some webinars. These are experienced people. A lot of them are digital champions as named by Queensland government, and they'll sit down with you, we'll pay them, and they can go through the stuff with you. You can say, hey, I did a session last night with Sonia and Yvette, and I learned about this system and that system, and I'm confused. I don't know which one's best for my business. And they will help guide you on the journey of what to do about that. So there's a lot of boys on that photo, but don't worry, we do have some girls. And once you become a program participant, you can go onto the system and book a session with them, whether it be online or in person for an hour. And it can be a one-off or it can be a regular thing. The mentor just has to be available and willing. The Facebook group, as I said, about 400 people in there, some from previous programs we've run, but all have the same thing in common. They're motivated and committed to improving their businesses digitally. And you can ask questions, mentors will come in, trainers will come in, other program participants like we're doing today, collaborating and helping each other in the journey. So really valuable to join that as well. If you want to join other webinars, they're almost all on Tuesdays at 7:30. If that's not a good time, I'm sorry. We'll make the recordings available to you if you're a program participant. We did run lots of surveys in early days with programs, and we found that that tended to be a better time for businesses that just don't get a lunch break and can't concentrate then, and that evenings were better for them. So that's why we've gone for that topic. So they're the topics you can look at your leisure. We've got the different workshops coming up. So it's actually, these are a bit mixed up. This should say 2, this should say 3, and this should say 4. Workshop 1 is actually happening on the 26th of May. All of these are listed on events. We've changed up how they are registered for now. So you'll actually go through Eventbrite because we had some issues once we rescheduled due to me being in the hospital and nearly dying, that we had to change up that system and streamline it a little bit. So that's all being done now. So anyway, if any of this is grabbing your attention, you can go to levelup.sunshinecoast.qld.gov.au and register online for the entire program. And if you want to register for any of those webinars, workshops coming up, or people you know, please direct them to that events page. And finally, this program wouldn't be possible without the support of lots of awesome partners. We've got telcos on board. We've had support from Regional Development Australia, NBN, CCIQ, Chamber Alliance and others. So there is a really great offer actually from Hive, which is one of our newer program partners, so not listed on there. where you can get some free days co-working at their amazing new space. And oh my gosh, if you've never experienced fast internet, you've got to go in there because it is screamingly fast. Go and try it and see what life is like and business is like on fast internet. You may just want to relocate your office to there or go work there once a week to get access to fast internet because it's pretty darn cool. Doesn't look like any more questions have come through. So getting lots of thank yous and cheers and informative sessions. So that is great feedback. We're always open to feedback. We hope we're on a nice streamlined path to just keep delivering this program and helping out business. So I'll see you online next week, or my business partner will also facilitate some weeks. I actually can't remember if it's her week or my week next week. It might even be hers. We'll see you online next week at 7:30, and lots more stuff to be uploaded to the online resource portal and notifications to go out through the week. Have a good week and do your homework. Good night all, and thanks again, Sonia.